Welcome to today's video, where we will be discussing an intriguing question. Is Feng Shui compatible with Christianity, or is it at odds with biblical teachings? Feng Shui, an ancient Chinese practice designed to harmonize energies within spaces, has gained worldwide popularity over the years. But with this rise in interest, many Christians, including Catholics, are wondering whether engaging with Feng Shui contradicts their faith. To understand this, we first need to look at the core beliefs of Christianity. Central to the Christian faith is belief in the sovereignty of God, faith in His power, and the rejection of idolatry or superstition. These principles are foundational to a Christian's worldview and guide how they interact with the world around them. Now, let's examine what Feng Shui involves. Feng Shui, rooted in ancient Chinese cosmology, focuses on how the arrangement of physical spaces can influence the flow of energy, or qi. Its goal is to create balance and harmony, which practitioners believe can lead to positive outcomes in health, wealth, and relationships. Some methods in Feng Shui involve using certain symbols, objects, or even rearranging furniture to redirect energy. But here's where the questions start. Is this practice just a harmless way to create a peaceful environment? Or does it cross into areas that contradict Christian beliefs? Many Christians and theologians have expressed concerns about Feng Shui, fearing that it may conflict with biblical principles. Critics argue that practices which attempt to manipulate or channel invisible energies could resemble superstitions or sorcery, concepts explicitly warned against in the Bible. For example, the Book of Deuteronomy cautions against engaging in practices like divination, sorcery, or consulting with spirits, as these are seen as turning away from faith in God's power. To some, Feng Shui falls into this category, as it may lead individuals to place faith in material objects or forces other than God. The Catholic Church, as one of the largest Christian denominations, does not have an official stance that explicitly condemns Feng Shui. However, church leaders often emphasize the importance of avoiding superstitious practices. While certain elements of Feng Shui, like maintaining a clean and organized environment, may seem harmless, others raise red flags for Catholics and other Christians. The concern here is that reliance on symbols or objects to influence one's life can divert faith away from God's plan and providence. This sentiment is shared by many Christian pastors who argue that Feng Shui practices can lead people to believe in the power of energies or forces beyond what is taught in the Bible. They advise Christians to be cautious, reminding them to place their trust in God rather than in practices that promise good fortune through non-biblical means. For instance, the Bible consistently emphasizes faith in God's will and the belief that He alone is the source of all blessings, protection, and guidance. Psalm 121:2 reminds us, "My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." But is every aspect of Feng Shui inherently against Christian beliefs? Not necessarily. Some proponents argue that if Feng Shui is viewed simply as a method to improve the physical environment, similar to good interior design or organizing spaces for better flow, it might not conflict with Christian teachings. For example, keeping a home clean and clutter-free, promoting natural light, or creating a peaceful atmosphere can be aligned with biblical concepts of stewardship and order. In 1 Corinthians 14:40 we read, "But everything should be done in a fitting and orderly way." Some Christians interpret this to mean that maintaining an organized and balanced living space is not only practical but also spiritually beneficial. However, the real tension arises when the practice of Feng Shui incorporates beliefs in forces like qi, or when certain rituals and symbols are believed to manipulate one's fortune or luck. Christians are taught to depend on God's grace and guidance. And any practice that shifts focus away from God's will towards reliance on objects or energies could lead to idolatry, which is clearly prohibited in the Bible. Exodus 20:3-4 says, "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath." It's also worth noting that different Christian denominations and individuals may have varying views on this matter. Some Catholics, for instance, might see Feng Shui as a cultural or practical way to enhance their living spaces without compromising their faith. Others, however, view certain Feng Shui practices with suspicion, especially when they seem to introduce elements of superstition. One interesting perspective comes from Jesuit priest and Xavier School director, Father Aristotle D., who has discussed the relationship between Feng Shui and Christianity. He suggests that if Feng Shui is viewed simply as a way to live in harmony with nature, there may be no inherent conflict with Christian teachings. He draws a parallel between Feng Shui's concept of qi and the Catholic belief in the Holy Spirit as the breath of life, suggesting that these beliefs could be seen as different expressions of the same idea. Additionally, many of the symbols or practices used in Feng Shui, like hanging wind chimes or burning incense, have equivalents in Catholicism. Catholics might wear scapulars or display rosaries as reminders of their faith, just as some people use Feng Shui symbols to represent balance or harmony. Father D suggests that as long as these practices don't conflict with the core tenets of Christian morality or theology, there may be no reason why Catholics cannot adopt certain aspects of Feng Shui, particularly in a cultural context. Whether or not Feng Shui is compatible with Christianity depends largely on how it is practiced and interpreted. If Feng Shui is used merely to create an orderly, balanced environment, some Christians might not see a conflict with their faith. However, if the practice begins to involve reliance on objects, symbols, or forces beyond God, many would argue that this crosses into idolatry or superstition, both of which contradict Christian teachings. As Christians navigate cultural practices like Feng Shui, discernment is key. It's important to ensure that their actions and beliefs remain grounded in the Bible and in their faith in God. Feng Shui, like many other practices, can be viewed through a variety of lenses. Ultimately, it's up to each individual to evaluate whether it aligns with their understanding of Christian doctrine. Thank you for watching. If you found this discussion insightful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Let us know your thoughts on this topic in the comments. Do you think Feng Shui and Christianity can coexist? See you in the next video.